And did those feet in ancient time walk upon England's mountains green? And was the holy Lamb of God green
and pleasant land?
Really nice concept, Sam.
Thanks, mate.
Was it quite easy to get the players to do that?
Absolute piece of cake.
Men of Harlech on to glory. This will be...
Sorry, Sam. I don't want to laugh.
This will be every... That doesn't sound right. This will every be your story. That doesn't really make sense, does it?
Stop laughing.
Men of Harlech on to glory. This will every...
What else you got lined up then?
Snooker on the moon.
What's that?
Need I explain?
Hello and welcome to Baize Watch episode 14. Last month's edition was our most popular yet, containing 2 world champions.
Well, guess what? We've got 2 more champions of the world coming your way.
Coming up, Neil Robertson auditions for Star Wars.
You do not know the power of the vegan side.
We find out how cues are made from the best in the business, John Parris. And defending English Open champion Stuart BINGHAM takes on our all-new challenge.
Well, it has been an extremely busy month on the World Snooker Tour, from Bangkok to Shanghai to here in Guangzhou. Here is a roundup of all the action.
Barry Hawkins landed the Paul Hunter Classic title in Germany. And Stephen Maguire won the 6 Red World Championship in Thailand. The world's finest congregated for the Shanghai Masters, snooker's most lucrative invitational event.
But this is for the title. And in it goes. And he is delighted. Little clenched fist.
It was Ronnie O'Sullivan who lifted the title for a 3rd year running, beating Sean Murphy in the final.
He's been up for this right from the first match.
One good pop.
And that'll do
2 weeks later, Murphy was again in the final at the Evergrande China Championship in Guangzhou. This time, the magician was victorious, beating Mark Williams 10-9 in a thrilling clash.
So Ben, as you boys in the office know, I absolutely love John Higgins. But who is your favourite player?
Neil Robertson, no question.
Why is that?
Long potting,
Yep.
break building,
Yep.
Warhammer.
What?
A really relaxing way of spending time sort of in between events and chilling out sort of after practice and stuff like that. So this is my Warhammer 40,000 collection. This is probably my most current kind of army that I've been doing pretty well with. It's a mixture of demons and 1,000 Suns, led by this guy here. He's called Araman. He's like a wizard. Yeah, so I got a really good mixture of like things that I've been painting over the years, and yeah, just really enjoy the hobby, really enjoy painting the models. Just sort of like I sit down here, watch a bit of TV and stuff, and do some painting. Yeah, it's nice to do a hobby that I'm quite good at and really enjoy as well. When I was about 14, back home, I just walked past a shop in a shopping centre and just saw these cool models and thought, wow, this is amazing. I got into the hobby then, but I sort of stopped when I was about 17. Many years passed by, and it was about 3 years ago, my mum sent over a box and some paints and some brushes. And yeah, I just got hooked back into the hobby. With Warhammer, what you do is you turn up to a game You've got like sort of like your bags of dice, stuff like that. You've got a tape measure. How the game works is that it's very much based around maths, where you need to try and work out the probability of something actually coming off. So for example, this guy, the Khitan Ravager, he can move 12 inches, so you move him 12 to get closer to the enemy. His Gatling cannon has 8 shots, so you get 8 dice to represent the number of shots that he has with that. It's quite complex actually. It's not the easiest of games to sort of learn, but once you do, it's very easy, and then it's amazing. You're free to do whatever you want with the hobby. You can go by the guides that they've got in the books on how to paint them, but you can make them look however you want. Some models I've spent probably like sort of 40 hours on that I've done. Some, you know, just like a couple of minutes. It just depends. The models that you want to be like the centerpiece of your army, you want to spend a lot of time on. You don't really want to spend too much time on the guys that are just going to basically, as soon as you put them down, they're going to die. I've done pretty well in tournaments, had a few top 10 finishes. The Rumble in Romford, very proud of that one. Battlefield Birmingham was the first ever tournament I went to. I actually got 3rd in the best painted army for these guys up here for my Death Guard army. In Telford last year for Glasshammer Gaming, I came 9th and I was streamed. I was streamed on Twitch TV, which was really awesome. I was more excited about that than actually playing a match on TV when I play snooker. It's a huge community. You wouldn't believe how many people actually play the game. People like Vin Diesel love Warhammer. It's a really creative way of passing time. It's much better doing this than being in front of a computer screen playing video games, for example. It helps me take my mind off snooker and stuff, especially when I'm traveling away. Sometimes I travel away to tournaments and I'm building models or just watching tournaments, Warhammer tournaments that are streamed. And sometimes paint. Write lists, read the history of the universe and everything like that. So every aspect of the hobby actually appeals to me. I love the story of it all. I love the competitiveness as well. I love competing at whatever it is, and so this is actually a really good way of doing that too. Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to build up a pretty crazy collection when I'm done.
I don't think he played that.
Have you ever wondered how a snooker cue is made? Well, we've come to the best in the business, Parris Cues in South East London, where John Parris himself is going to show us how the magic happens.
It's a hobby that I overdid. Actually, I tend to do that when I get into something, but started off like everybody else, just a club player, and just started fiddling around with my own cue. And in that time, just guys in the club and people I knew heard that I was doing it and asked me to do some repairs and alterations to their cues, and it grew from there. I guess Alex was the first one that I ever did. The worst time was when he actually had the house in Manchester that had a garden shed, and he'd go into the shed with a Black & Decker drill and some plastic padding and wreck the cues, then bring them back to me to put back together again afterwards. We made a replica cue for Steve that he had as a standby, and then he actually broke the cue. The ferrule broke on the cue at a tournament in Reading one night, and he sort of drove back through the night to get there to get it fixed for the next day to carry on with the tournament. But he also decided to put a joint in the cue, which, he'd won sort of numerous world championships with the cue, and he was trying to get me to saw it in half. So that was a little bit daunting. Ronnie was 11 the first time we did some work for him. I think first job we did was to shorten the cue, that someone had told him it was too long. He got it back and came back the next week and we extended it back again because he realised he liked it how it was in the first place. So we start off going to wood yards, sorting through the ash and maple and picking out the best ones. And from a plank of wood, we then cut that into squares from which I can sort of look at that, check the grain, decide what's the best end of the wood to cut the shaft from, which way to cut the shaft, and I'll mark that up. We'll cut it off to length, and then it will move on to the next operation. We then round them off to the first size, which is a bit like a broomstick. So that'll sort of take it down. And we do this in gradual stages because if you go from a square of wood down to a finished cue size, the stresses you put in the wood can sort of move and resettle. From quite a thick taper, we'll go to a mid-size, leaving it for a month or two between each stage. And then from that, we'll go down to the final sort of working taper, which is nearly a cue size. And at that stage, I can go through, grade out each shaft, see if it's good enough. It's then planed down on two sides to a taper, and the ebony is sort of glued on there. From there, we plane it down on the other two sides and glue ebony on again, which makes a complete hand-spliced butt. It's then rounded off, which by the time it's planed down completely to size, will bring it into the normal sort of hand-spliced shapes that you see when we take the ebony away from where we've glued it on. You get these nice sort of points where the ebony is taking the place of the ash that used to be there. At that stage, it can either be left as a plain ebony butt, or it can be planed down again. So we'll plane the ebony away and end up inlaying other pieces of wood on. So we can take a piece of wood like this and perhaps with a veneer, and that's actually glued on like that. The design we've got on this one is probably our most popular one, which is the same design as Ronnie's cue. So that seems to be our best-selling design. Then one of the last operations is the traditional flat part is put on the cue. It makes a nice little place for us to cut a hole in and put our name disc in there. We then cut the cue off to its final length, and a tenon's cut on the end to accept the brass ferrule. So we then knock the brass ferrule on, and the shaft is then planed in by hand to its final taper, and we sort of measure down the shaft depending on what the tip size would be. And then it'll go through various sanding operations to get it a nice sort of silky smooth finish. Once the cue's planed down and sanded to its final size, we then level the top of the ferrule off, glue a tip on, and then the tip is trimmed into size at the sides and domed at the top, which ends up in a nice playable domed tip. I've sort of learnt through experience and blood, sweat and tears over the years how to do things, which is perhaps why ours are slightly unique, because I didn't sort of do an apprenticeship or work for anybody else. It was all done just learning how to do it myself through some things working, some things not. You can see the trend, globally, partly with the increase in tournaments. I think Eurosport has helped, where it's, brought snooker to a lot more people than were seeing it before. But yeah, I mean, it's the rise has gone crazy.
With the Home Nations series just around the corner, we thought we'd catch up with defending English Open champion Stuart Bingham.
And he takes on our all-new challenge.
Hi, I'm Stuart Bingham. I'm taking on the new Back to Black challenge. free. Extension. Just need to pot it. Just need to pot it. Just think. Just pot it. And the white. Everyone, you got 3 to beat.
I actually reckon 3's quite a good score, Ben.
It's quite a tough challenge.
It is. If you guys at home think you can beat Stuart's score, send your clips into our Twitter @WorldSnooker. Well, that is it for episode 14 of Baize Watch. Hope you've enjoyed it.
Hold up, Sam. The season is just getting started.
Stuart Bingham will be looking to defend his title as the Home Nation Series kicks off with the 19.com English Open in Crawley. The World Snooker Tour then heads back to China for the Yushan World Open. And all the winners from the previous 12 months congregate in Coventry for the ManBet X Champion of Champions.
Ivan, can you do Darth Vader's voice? Well done, Ryan.